I see some people in the audience who haven't been with us until now. Welcome. Thank you for making it. How many need one of these? Okay. Keep your hand up so we can give you one. Because we're going to make reference to it this morning. And you can look at your book. It's 4 pages from the back, from the very end. And how many here have not taken part in something like this before? And we need some housekeeping understanding. How many have not taken part in something like this? Okay. Something that's important, that helps, is from the time I finish class, and you're going to get a little exam to see if you heard what I said, we request you all to observe Mona Vrata. The real test, as soon as class is over, do you start conversation like usual, or do you observe Mona Vrata? The Mona Vrata means, no, unless you have children and they need something, then because Mona Vrata has a purpose. You know, it's not, we're not impersonalists. We don't keep a chalkboard and write stuff down instead of say it. But it helps control the tongue and the ear. Become more controlled. It will help absorption and chanting. So it's a request. It's our standard. And for events like this is, please observe Mona Vrata until the bell rings. And that's 11:15 when class begins. Then you can talk like because of the Sunday schedule, I believe it's out of respect for the Detroit Temple schedule that's in the evening. This is a kind of like a mini ending 11:15. So how many have already chanted 16 rounds? Ooh, okay. How many are planning, hoping at least, to chant more than 32 rounds? Oh, very good. Many people, we have a 32 round day, we call it, these circles. They do so many. Young people also, they do so many. I don't know if they're reporting honestly, but they report so many. And how many beads they have in their strand is another thing too. But try to complete 32 or more. If you don't, that's fine, but try. And when trying, this is a little reminder for those that, particularly for those that haven't been with us. On the bottom of the first page, don't look now please, but later you can look when we're done here. There's an exercise that may help you when chanting your 32 rounds. And then tomorrow, and the request is this exercise for the next 3 weeks. I mean, that's arbitrary, it could be 10 weeks, but it's application of what we have heard. Taking what's outside, bringing it inside, and keeping it by practical application, because that separates the men from the boys. When you apply what you heard, if you know what I mean. So, it will help. The intention is to go more deeply into awakening Rasa. There's some cheshta, there's some effort that's required. And then there's a call for mercy that's required for both. So that's the application or exercise that's there. So when completing up until 11:15, try. And then finally, I'm not going to do a little mini of what we've done so far, but you'll find it in this handout sheet. But they just say these two things. Mood of service to the name gives access to the name. And access to the name, according to Rupa Goswami, gives us access to real understanding of who Krishna really is. In case you wanted to really know who Krishna really is, service to the name. And the second is, the name and the person are not different. So when we're chanting japa this morning, after I finish, that you're with Krishna, or Krishna is with you, or your relationship with Krishna is mercifully being nourished by Krishna's presence through his name. And the name and the person aren't different at all. We spent some time on those two topics. But we're going to spend some more time on at least one of those two topics this morning. And then finally, by design, this class is short because we want to get to chanting and then the application of what we've heard. So I won't go on and on like I did yesterday, hopefully. This verse is text 7, and you're going to see it again at 11:15. This is text 7 of Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita by Rupa Goswami. And that's the springboard to enter into our topic, awakening of Rasa. So let's chant it together simultaneously. Sya Krishna Madhuritavisthapya Vidya Hito Padaka Rasanaya Narochitanu Kintvadarad Padusaya Justa Sadri Brahmad Bhavati Tadgurtamula Hantri. Now, you've seen this, not only the verse, but this underlining of Adarad before. This is a repeat of Adarad. Translation, the holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by adarad, carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So that's this natural relish, this is awakening of Namarasa. That's where the title comes from, this verse. And we're going to spend some time this morning hearing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's illuminations on carefully chanting. Okay, so now if you'd like to go to the next to the last page of this handout document here. Here's just going to read, in little discussion, the mainly read, so listen carefully. Bhaktisiddhanta's quotes. Now it says, Srila Prabhupada, that's his disciples also called Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada. So that's what that reference is. Without Shravana, there is no Kirtana. First, Shravana, then Kirtana. So the heading here is, O Harinam, please enter my heart through my ears. This is a repeat, or a a more contemporary exposition on Rupa Goswami's verse about chanting that we saw. We're going to see it again this morning. 2. Unless accompanied by Shravana, any attempt to perform kirtana must be material. Repeated hearing gives rise to kirtana and smarana. By hearing kirtana, one begins to perform kirtana, and from performing kirtana, smarana of harikatha wakens. 3. The name of the Lord and the Lord himself are not two separate entities, but one. And underlined here. When the sound of the holy name passes over the lips, the conditioned sense of hearing and the conditioned consciousness initially process the sound as if it were material. And that is how it is perceived. As a result, only the external ear hears it. Paragraph. Since the other senses and the mind, which is the collector of sensory experience, that's the mind, are envious of the ear, which they consider to be an equal partner. The result is that such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. So what do we have to do? We do not have the capacity even to theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one. We had this discussion yesterday. Yet, just as piercing the ear of one is one of the Vedic rites for a young child, when our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, the other senses give up their envy of the auditory sense. They no longer quibble with the ear, which alone can perceive transcendental sound. Transcendental sound. It is transcendental sound when perceived otherwise, when we hear with the outer ear. Then the flood of prema pours forth from all the spiritual senses and cleans away all the contaminants of opposition and malice. Opposition and malice means dvesha towards Krishna, and that which is in relation to Krishna, like the Vaishnavas, etc., in the scripture, and any of the other things that are offenses. Because offenses to the name produce anarthas. And anarthas, we discussed this yesterday, anarthas are very powerful. Anarthas have the power to block the power of bhakti. Now, bhakti is absolute like Krishna is. Yes? Bhakti is absolute. Bhakti is Radha's expansion. Bhakti Devi, ki jai. She is Radha's expansion. She's the internal potency. We heard Bhaktivinoda Thakur explain that yesterday too. So, although Krishna is unlimitedly powerful and Bhakti is unlimitedly powerful, anarthas have the power to block the power of Bhakti. They're really nasty. How to get over anarthas? How to get over our limitation of understanding that the name and the person, Krishna, are non-different. Small thing, just here. Not mental adjustment. The mental adjustment ain't gonna happen, Prabhus. You can't get there that way. Not mental adjust over there. It doesn't work. What works? Hearing. Hearing with attention. Now we discussed, not totally exhaustively, but we discussed hearing with attention and what's required and things to do. and it's in your handout, it's in the recording. Continuing, same quote. This is a letter to one devotee from Bhaktisiddhanta to a disciple. Thereafter, the Lord's beautiful form, qualities, associates, and pastimes are revealed in the name Himself, with a capital H, and experienced by the chanter as something quite distinct from his previous experience in the mundane world. Then the kinds of worries and distractions of the mind that are typical of the conditioned living being cannot remain. What's the message? When we learn to hear as we chant, the opportunity to remember Krishna will automatically arise. At that time, Ashtakaliya Lila Smarana will become possible. There is no need artificially to try for it. But we should constantly pray to the holy name for His mercy. So there's effort and there's mercy. Same message. Constantly in a prayerful mood. Please engage me. Please accept me. Please give me the capacity to hear you in the form, the transcendental spiritual form of your name, which has form, spiritual form. Not the same as the deity form, not the same as the past, that what we see in paintings. Those are forms. Or when Krishna performs his pastimes in Braja and discloses to the world. That's his spiritual form. And the sound is another form. We heard Bhaktivinoda Thakur explain lucidly. So the message here, and I'm going to keep going because of time, because of purposely keeping this short. But it's really, really nice topic, easy to expand. The ear conquers the mind. Rupa Goswami's verse, how much nectar, let's see the verse shortly. Then wondering the nectar in the mouth, the nectar in the ear, the nectar in the heart, when that holy name enters the courtyard of the heart, the mind becomes stunned and the senses become inert. Yoga. Not Ashtanga Yoga, not Hatha Yoga, not asanas and pranayama. It's the holy name yoga, mantra yoga. And the distractions of the mind become stunned. Just have to hear. That's the message. Ear conquers the mind and the other senses. The mind becomes inert and it sits stunned and the senses become inert. We're not there yet, but that's Bhaktisiddhanta's instructions. This is the carefully chanting legend from Rupa Goswami's verse. Next, transcendental sound will be the agency. Quote, this is from his writings, Sri Chaitanya's teachings. The mind and the body are upadhis, or external casings. The soul is actually free from all this. Our soul has to be set free from external contamination. All perishable values required to be eliminated. Then we shall see that we have devotion. We are devotees. Transcendental sound will be the agency. Sri Krishna Chaitanya has told us to place our reliance solely on the name of Hari. The transcendental sound has got the potency to regulate our other senses. It is the absolute sound which will carry us to the region of the absolute. Powerful, huh? Very clear. Next. Some 50 pages later. The kirtan of Hari is the constant and natural function of all the facilities of the jiva. In its constitutional state, free from all affinities with this changeable world. That is because the absolute truth is identical with Hari. Hari has to be served. That's the name, by the way. Exclusively, constantly, and by all facilities of the soul. The only function of the voice is to chant the kirtan of Hari, which is identical with and inseparable from the simultaneous service of Hari by all the other senses. One who does not employ his voice constantly and exclusively in chanting the kirtan of Hari has no access to the service of Hari by any other faculty, which is a restatement or rephrasing of Jiva Goswami's teachings in Bhakti Siddhartha. Next, from a different source, the inclination to kirtan effects, that means brings about, shravana, and the opportunity for smarana. At that time, there is the possibility of serving within Krishna's Ashtakavya. In all respects, pray to Sri Nama for his mercy. Not a different message, he's just expressing in different manner the same. Finally, if Sri Krishna Sankirtan is not performed, then no other limb of bhakti such as Mathura, Vasa, or Sadhu Sangha can be fulfilled. But if only Sri Krishna Sankirtan is performed, then the results of Mathura, Vasa, of Sadhu Sangha, or faithfully serving deities, and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam are all fulfilled. Nama Bhajan completely fulfills the jiva's every need. So you've seen this image before. I like it. Besides moving, it's like interesting. But this is the heart. You know, in different cultures, lotus signifies or is a symbol of different things. And for devotees, it's Krishna, because Krishna's abode is a lotus. So we don't see Krishna, but he's there, because his abode is the transcendental lotus, from which all lotuses emanate or have their foundation. For me anyways, it's Krishna. And feeling the presence of Krishna. So when the lotus of the heart opens by transcendental sound, then we can clearly make the distinction between the reflection of the lotus and the lotus. Because the reflection, when the waves are moving, it's distorted. It's not the real lotus, and it's a distorted image of the real lotus. And it's upside down too. Like chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita. But the real thing, the real, so, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's language. The white lotus of good fortune. And that good fortune, it expands, opens. In the nighttime, lotuses close. And when the sun rises, lotuses open. Nighttime comes, the lotuses close. Morning comes, gently, gradually, as the sun rises, the lotus opens. So what about the night of Kali Yuga? It's dark. lotus closes, the heart closes. Therefore, this beautiful metaphor, when Srimad Bhagavatam and the holy name become manifest, although it's the night of Kali Yuga, the light that's as cooling as the moon and as bright as the sun, the heart opens. We just have to access Srimad Bhagavatam in the name. And then the natural inclination for loving Krishna, being connected to Krishna, having taste, having rasa for the name, and that means for Krishna, being in Krishna's service, it awakens. What good fortune! What good fortune! What good fortune! In this place of misfortune, Kali Yuga is not nice. Bhagavatam is very unfortunate. Manda, bad. Even in what's bad, there's one good thing. Kalir doshinadhe raja, yasti ek mahanvana, kirtanadeva Krishna. So that's what this image means for me. And one of my favorite verses is this one, Romapada Swami, describing the name, and it encapsulates the theme of all these things we've been hearing, trying to share. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many mouths, such nectar. When the name enters the holes of the ears, that's the spiritual ear, we desire many millions of ears, such nectar. So the tongue, the ear, and then the heart. When the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. That's mature stage, and we're not there. So we need to focus on chanting with attention and hearing with attention, with an understanding that the mood of service to that sound, not just a sound, it's a sound, but it's not just a sound. It's access to the spiritual world by descending mercy. Compliments of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here's a gift. Awaking Namarasa, this image again. And as that, the means, the conduit is Bhaktisiddhanta's teaching, repeated several times in several different ways, is that hearing process. And a natural follower of Bhaktisiddhanta, of course he had many followers, but our founder Acharya had this to say. It's the final quote in your handout sheet, I'll read. To Malavi, 1967, while chanting Hare Krishna, you should always feel the presence of Krishna in person. And as soon as you remember Krishna in person, you can remember also about his talks with Arjuna. If you cannot remember Krishna in person, you should try to hear attentively the word Krishna, Hare, as you go on chanting. Please try it. The spirit soul does not evolve like the body. The body has got 6 transformations, namely, the body takes its birth, it grows, it remains for some time, produces some byproducts, it dwindles, and then vanishes. All of these 6 changes of the body are not applicable to the soul. The soul is permanent. It has no development, no decrease, no destruction, nothing of the sort as compared with the body. The only difficulty of the soul is that in the conditioned state of material body, the soul is supposed to forget its identity. By chanting Hare Krishna, gradually the soul revives its identity. Or it comes out from the forgetfulness. This is not exactly development, but it's reviving one's consciousness. Everything will be gradually clear as you go on chanting Hare Krishna. Please, try to chant at least 16 rounds of the beads and underline. While chanting, try to hear each and every word. That will make you advance in every respect. Pretty clear, pretty strong, right? Very simple. Just hear. Yeah, but... Pronouncing carefully and hearing attentively, there's a natural connection between the two. Here's a tip or a trick or something. Sometimes the mind wanders. More than sometimes. So if you're chanting, you find that this rebellious mind is not behaving nicely. Here's a trick. Pronounce carefully. Because to pronounce carefully, you have to hear. Am I pronouncing carefully? It's a trick. And when you're hearing whether you're pronouncing carefully, the mind is captured. Because Bhaktisiddhanta's teaching is the mind becomes captured, defeated by the ear. Don't go from that space. Stay there for some time. When you start to become relaxed, hey, no, complacency sets in. Guess what? We all know what. The bungee cord, you're back to like the distracted mind. Conclusion, you saw this slide yesterday. Here it is again. Some little sutras, if you really get in a fix. Your mind is too rebellious. Stop thinking, start hearing. We saw this yesterday. Don't space out, that's our ISKCON vernacular. Don't space out, hear. Just surrender to the sound vibration of the holy name. That's the mood of hearing. It's a qualitative description of the hearing process. The mood of submission. You heard Bhaktisiddhanta say, pray to the holy name for mercy, surrender. Call for the mercy of the holy, because he's all merciful. We heard yesterday, more merciful than Krishna himself in his deity form or his form where he says, you got to surrender to me, then I'll be nice. You don't have to worry about your sinful reactions. Or, please, just hear, hear, hear. These are helpful. This is a slide you saw before. Again, after this very same presentation was given some months ago. One of the devotees in the audience that says that they're visual, they gave me this visual. So the top part is them. I'm sorry. I'm out of service. I'm broken. It don't work. I'm unqualified. I have no merit for the mercy of Krishna's holy name. And Krishna's response is, that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you. Just hear me. So this is my kind of edited version. I'm broken. I don't know if I can be repaired. That's okay. I accept you as you are. Just hear me. That's the last slide. So, any little discussion? Short? Purposely short? Yes. Where's the microphone? Our sound man? Here he is. Come on in. Where's your portable mic? Oh. You're so efficient. You get, no, over here. Thank you. You're wonderful.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so very much. Maharaj, you were reading from you were sharing the quotes from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the third one, in this, there is a very detailed description on how that sound traverses.
Yes.
And in this, I was just, this specific portion attracted me actually. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, the result, so this is the regular meditation chanting. The result of such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. And then below that highlighted portion, yet just as piercing of the ear is one of the Vedic rites for the young child, when our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, the other senses give up the envy of the auditory sense. So,
what's your question?
So my question is...
How do you get there? How do you go from material to the spiritual?
Yes, exactly.
Same as we've covered, because you were here yesterday. Effort and mercy. What's important to you? Answer that question, and you get effort. If you don't ask that question and get an answer to that question, effort it's not the same. It's sporadic. When you're pinched, you go ouch and you make some effort, and the pinch, ouch is over and you don't make the same effort. What's really important to you? Deep inside, not like, circumstantial. And deep like that iceberg. Then there's effort. And when you make effort, anyone that's made effort knows, I can't do this on my own. Our acharyas tell us, our experience tell us, mercy. We don't need to go elsewhere. It's just within the name is the mercy. So it's both. It's right in these teachings. That's the difference. That's bhakti. You nourish or nurture that, bhakti grows. Bhakti can smash the whole, cosmic manifestation. You don't need it anymore.
Thank you very much.
I just got the vibration. We would have a question. So,
yes, piggybacking on the same question.
Same question.
It's very similar. Like here it says that the other senses in the mind consider the ear to be an equal partner and they're envious. How can we tangibly
How do we understand that? They're entities. So, just like, lust has different seating places, right? So how do you have a seating place of lust if you're just a thing? You're like a table. Table has no lust. But the senses are animated by the presence of the soul through the medium of false ego. And so they act. They have their seeding places of lust or envy. That's how. They appear to be persons. They act as if they're persons. The senses want to go here, and, etc., etc. It's Maya. The deluding potency of Maya. That's how. And we take it as real. And they act in a way to bind the soul. It's Maya. It's not real, but it appears to be real. And so the language is not going through all of that, but it's just envious of the king.
So they're envious that I'm spending 1.5 hours, 2 hours to chant the holy names through the ear. Why don't you give me attention?
Well, generally we hear that the mind, amongst the knowledge-acquiring senses and the working senses, there's 11 in the mind. So it's the mind. He's a bully. Not the judge. But over there is the spiritual approach. He's in charge. I don't want to recognize that. I want to be in charge. It's a teaching. Do you want to know how does it work and all the technology of things? It's like it's Maya. It's really subtle, bewildering. Yes. Go ahead. No, you have the microphone.
Yes, thank you for class. I have a question. I heard there are 4 types of languages: Vaikari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, and Para. So, is always hearing by ear, or it's always done by ear?
The first part, the preface of your question, I didn't catch, nor have I heard this reference before, so I can't be responsive to that first part. And my thoughts were in the first part, so just say the second part without this preamble. Is it that what?
Is that hearing is always done by ear?
Or by what else is hearing done by? What other options on the list is there?
Because sometimes we have the mental chatter, mind chatter, and we are hearing to our mind. So it's not necessary always we hear by ear. So is the chanting, mental chanting can also be heard, or it's always a loud chanting we should do?
It's loud chanting we should do. Is it possible to chant silently? Of course. That's not what's being recommended to us, audible chanting. There's a really nice discussion, which I don't want to go into because of time, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, where Haridas Thakur is challenged by a Brahmin, why are you chanting audibly? This is in violation of scripture. Mantra is to be chanted silently, within the mind. It's not that you can't chant within the mind, but it's incomplete. Particularly the names. Now, when we chant Gayatri, there's names, and we chant silently. But it's supported by the name, which we chant audibly. So you can look it up. I can, send you the reference if you want. It's not in my back pocket right now. It's in Ankhil, I believe, the final section. And then another nice reference, very nice reference, is Brihat Bhagavatamrita, part 2. Gopa Kumar goes to Tapaloka, where they do meditation. It's celibates only, and they do meditation, and they try to persuade Gopa Kumar, what are you doing? Looking for Madan Gopal. We see him all the time. He's in our, because you see in the mind before you see with your eyes. They give this like, interesting argument. So he kind of buys it, but he reaches the conclusion, not the same. He hasn't experienced seeing Madan Gopal with his eyes, his spiritualized eyes. It's not the same. It's just, so he keeps going. Then later, Narada Muni gives him great, good going. You didn't buy it. Here's why you shouldn't. It gives him a scriptural explanation. It's really nice. It's on the topic you're asking about. It should be heard with the ear and seen with the eye. It doesn't mean that's useless. That's complete. So you can read that section of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. You have to search for it, but it's there. It's a long section. Lots of scriptural reference, particularly in the commentary, but Narada says in commentary and commentaries. Very thorough exposition on the importance of the spiritual seeing, which is preceded by the spiritual hearing, which then purifies the mind by the spiritual hearing. Rupa Goswami's teaching, Bhaktisiddhanta's teaching. It's not a 0, but it's not a 10 either. Okay?
Thank you.
In front of you?
Raj, you mentioned that inattentive chanting produces anarthas. So I was trying to understand whether all anarthas are produced by inattentive chanting.
What's the root? And then the root has twigs and branches and leaves and limbs. It's the root.
So attentive chanting should be the solution for resolving all.
You're saying it backwards, but yes.
And
You pull the root, you pull the weed.
And once somebody is at the place where the power of bhakti is blocked because of the anarthas, so this is the resolution for the person to get out of that phase.
That's right. Here we go. Last question, because we want to get to our 32 rounds.
I just have a housekeeping request.
Housekeeping item?
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask your question. She can do the housekeeping at the end, we're done.
Maharaj, yesterday we had a nice kirtan.
Yeah.
So, most of our devotees enjoying the kirtan and including myself.
Right.
So I was in the middle of the kirtan, I was just wondering whether I was pleasing my senses, whether I was pleasing Krishna.
Probably a mix. That's fair. Right?
Thank you.
Housekeeping, and we're done.
Guru, since this retreat is happening for the first time in this location, and in the past I have seen that delaying the breakfast and having an arrangement that everyone is not required to eat at one time, but the breakfast can be kept there and people can go at their own timing and have it, helps in
Great. So, with this, we'll conclude. Reminder, those some of you came a little late, Mona Brata, please, means during Prasadam, when 11:15 bell rings, you can talk all you like. If you need to help your child, do it very softly, so the ears of others are not, distracted. And number 2, don't eat so much. Whatever you're used to eating, experience. Eat moderately. Or, don't eat so much because it makes the hearing more difficult, especially when it's extended hearing. Because all your blood goes to your stomach and the ear and the brain become, so. I have experience with these events, so it's advice. And no inference on the cooks, it's just it'll help you with your chanting. And then you don't have to go and eat it all. You can stay and absorb, assimilate everything, and little by little, go and take some prasadam and you come back. Ideal? Well, because it's Detroit in January, you have to go outside for japa walks, probably. If you feel you need to, fine. But stay together. The sangha of devotees chanting together is really nice. Okay. See you again at 11:15. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.